Are you worried about the fact that your wallet is stretched to its limits and money doesn't seem to go as far as it did a few months ago or even a few days ago? On April 2nd, Trump promised Liberation Day tariffs would make America wealthy again, that it would bring back manufacturing jobs and revive demand for American-made goods. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that yet. Many economists warn that tariffs will bring dire consequences to the economy, such as recession or stagflation. Stagflation is when the economic growth sputters even as prices remain high. On Wednesday, we saw the creation of 2 new tariffs, a 10% universal duty on all U.S. imports and reciprocal tariffs on 90 nations, including a nation of penguins, I believe. President Trump believes that this will create jobs, create more federal revenue, and revitalize, again, manufacturing in the United States. The jury is still out on that one. However, economists ring alarm bells as they believe that the tariffs will have the opposite of the intended effect, which would instead accelerate inflation and decrease U.S. economic growth. Tariffs paid by U.S. businesses that import goods and materials from other countries are going to pass on these higher prices to consumers, the result of which is higher prices to consumers, resulting in inflation and putting a freeze on spending in the U.S. Again, not creating revenue. Several Wall Street economists say a risk of recession, which is a downturn that includes 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in U.S. GDP, is at an increased risk due to tariffs. If recent tariffs spur retaliatory tariffs, which we're already seeing from China or from other nations, a serious recession would result would not only affect the U.S., but would also have a global effect. A U.S. recession would likely reduce the gross domestic product by 2% and increase unemployment rates next year to 7.5%, up from the current rate of 4.1%, says Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. China announced on Friday that it would implement 34% retail tariff on the U.S. beginning April 10th, the day after Trump's tariffs are slated to go into effect, which is actually today. So what happens next is up to President Trump. Stick with the tariffs or ease up. Gregory Dacko, chief economist at EY, says most likely Trump's tariffs will boost inflation. Definitely not a glowing review that President Trump would want to hear. Consumer prices could accelerate by 1 percentage point by year's end and boost inflation by 4% above the current level. Americans, as President Trump campaigned on ending the inflation nightmare of the post-pandemic era. Instead, we have higher tariffs, higher inflation. Recent CBS polls find that most Americans feel that Trump has focused too much on targeting tariffs and not enough on lowering consumer costs. The price of eggs are still high. Everything is going up, as we can all see. A hike in inflation from Trump's latest round of tariffs could add an additional $1,000 in annual cost for low-income households. Dacko estimates. Trump's latest tariffs will bring a hike in inflation. For instance, an Apple iPhone manufactured in China will have a 34% tariff. Yale Budget Lab estimates the April 12th tariffs would cost a typical household $2,148, according to Seema Shah, the chief global strategist at Principal Asset Management. Most recent tariffs target countries central to the U.S. supply chain: China, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Taiwan. U.S. consumers should expect higher prices across a wide range of everyday items. Yesterday, President Trump put a 90-day stay on his imposed tariffs. However, if you plan on purchasing goods from China, tariffs have increased to 125% effective immediately. The question remains to be seen whether he will continue with more tariffs after 90 days or continue to roll out additional tariffs. Further, we've seen that the stock market improved yesterday. Today, the stock markets have gone back down. So the choice will be Trump's, whether or not he continues with the tariff strategy or whether he will ease up on the tariff strategy. So I guess it will depend on us as taxpayers and as citizens to be able to, if we have a voice or not have a voice. So again, I appreciate your watching, and I hope that that gave some insight into the tariff situation. It's actually a follow-up on a previous video that I did, so check that out. Also, if you got some value from the video, I would ask you to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. American made goods.